أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the Master of the Day of Judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the creator and sustainer of all things, the giver of life, the guider of hearts, the Master of the Day of Judgment. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and final messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and upon all those who choose to tread in his path until the last day. It is said that when Allah Azza wa Jal looks to see who would be His last messenger to all of mankind, He looks into the hearts of His creation. That we find within the prophetic tradition and narration that says, "In Allah nadara fi qulub al-ibad," that indeed Allah Azza wa Jal, He looked into the hearts of His ibad, the hearts of His righteous servants. فَوَجَدَ خَيْرَ قُلُوبِ الْعِبَادِ قَلْبَ مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And he finds that the best of hearts is the heart of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. فَاسْتَفَاحُ لِنَفْسِهِ. He chooses him for himself, that he is known as Al-Mustafa, the chosen one. And He endows him with the responsibility of being the last messenger for all of mankind. And for us to understand, as we are just mere days away from the blessed month of Ramadan, may Allah allow for us to reach it and benefit from it. Where we have just moments where, inshallah ta'ala, Allah will grant us the tawfiq to be able to be present in that month of reflection, that month of mercy, that month of compassion, that month of blessing. May Allah make us from amongst those who gain from it. When Allah looks and sets criteria for who will be endowed with the responsibility of being His last messenger to this world, He starts not based off of any external metrics or measurements. It's not based off of class or culture or country of origin, the shade of skin color or texture of hair, languages spoken, accents, present or absent. And Allah wants to pick who will be given that responsibility. He looks to see who has the best heart. And for us, just days out from this month, you don't want to start anywhere else other than where our Creator started. And you begin by not looking external, but looking internal. The month is not meant to be a month that just becomes mechanical, a ritual that's meant to be in ends without it serving a purposeful means to the acquisition of something. And the difficulty when we hear things over and over and over is that the novelty of it starts to lose its impact upon us. So where you and I might become exposed to ideas and concepts for the first time, where from amongst us there are individuals who will be fasting for the very first time in their life. May Allah make it easy for all of you. There are those who have not experienced a Ramadan ever in their life. And so every single word is held on to a little bit differently. And for many of us, where we have the admonition and the advice to be those who renew our intentions, to be people who revisit the purpose of why we do what we do, but in a world at times that is devoid of meaning and purpose, not because it's not there, but because we're not looking at it through hearts, we're just seeing it through the eyes that are on our faces. We don't aspire to find depth or purpose, but we are people who have become just people of the physical, feeding our bodies, inundating ourselves with drink, to make decisions purely for the acquisition of that which is materialistic, wealth and affluence that gives us nothing other than more agitation. And our gaze, let alone being lowered, just elevates itself to places it should never be. And all we seek to do is satiate the sexual appetite that cannot ever be fulfilled because we feed it with what is not really substantive. Ramadan is supposed to be about something different. And you might have heard verses over and over and over that talk to you about fasting being something that was given to you and I as a means that perhaps we might attain this thing called taqwa. You might have heard hadith upon hadith, narration upon narration that talks about the benefits of this practice, the importance of it. But you got to get to a place where you break away from the clutter and try to hear it as if you never heard it before. Be in a place where your openness, your conviction is so rooted in sincerity that you're willing to take those words the way that you might cling onto them as somebody who actually believes that their message is true. We have everybody just move up again. If you fill up the gaps, you don't sit just on the rows that are taped, but just fill up wherever there's space in front of you. There's going to be a lot of people, and with the weather, it's going to be people trickling in. And so everybody's going to tell us about how we should be eating and how we should be sleeping and what we should be doing with our nights and what we should be doing to take care of the days. You want to revisit words from that messenger who had that amazing heart that he was denoted as Al-Mustafa. And he says to us, لِصَائِمِ فَرْحَتَانِ فَرْحَةٌ عِنْدَ إِفْطَارِهِ وَفَرْحَةٌ عِنْدَ لِقَاءِ رَبِّي. That for the one who is fasting, there are two farhas, two joys. There is a fast when they break their fast, and there is a fast when they meet their Lord. And so starting with the former as opposed to the latter, the obvious rejoicement for the one who breaks their fast is that you get to eat again. And that's not about validating or justifying an uncontrollable animalistic tendency to just binge eat from the time the sun sets until the time the sun rises again. If you are in a space where you are not in control of the appetite, where you're not strategically thinking about what you put into your body as a means to fuel you with real energy so you have spiritual growth, think about it now. But more so the latter, where he says that joy comes for the fasting person when they meet their Lord. Your fast has to be about bringing you closer to God. And you think about, well, how is that possible? And how do I gain that? You can't gain something if you don't believe it's possible. And you can't believe something is possible if you don't have it in your mind ever. And if you're in a place where the thoughts are fleeting or they're just mechanical or your mind right now is thinking about someplace else you need to be, fight the thought. Iblis is looking for whatever way possible to take control in these last moments between this day and the first day of that blessed month to detract you and put you steps behind. The challenge is going to come where you can mindfully say that there are elements at play that are not just about things that are tangible that you can hold, but things that exist that seek to deter you from being in a space of real gain beyond just this world, but in terms of the world that exists beyond this one. So if you already think that somehow you are not privy to the waswasa of shaitan, may Allah protect us from the whispers of Satan, that you don't have a nafs, a lower self, a base desire, an ego that seeks to make you and render you lazy just like it wants to be. Because the ego does not want you to be forgiving. It does not want you to be compassionate. It does not want you to be merciful. It does not want you to have confidence. It does not want you to be positive. It wants you to sit back and point the flaw out and everything else around you rear a deep arrogance that says everything else has a problem. As opposed to embracing with gratitude and confidence the God-given talents you've been endowed with to allow for yourself to live your Islam in such a way where you don't have to answer or seek the validation of any part of creation because you know you believe in a God that believes in you. And you fast for that God's sake. You go to a place where you start to think deeply about how my living, my breathing, my sustaining of myself, my movement forward, my waking, my sleeping, my eating, my drinking, everything just goes back to the divine. And I start to figure for myself as to how I will captivate my internal being in this day, as important as it is, so that I meet that first day of Ramadan better than my best. What do you want to achieve, my sisters and brothers? Do you want to have the heart that when you walk down the street and you see somebody in need, your mind tells you that that's somebody who's just seeking money for drugs and alcohol? Do you want to have the heart that beats within a body that hesitates in extending its hand to somebody else because that hand does not match the other hand in skin color? Do you want to have the heart that is so drawn and entangled in worldly acquisition that it leaves behind things that are beneficial and good? That it justifies not spending time with your loved ones and children? You want that heart? That it somehow validates breaking promises and telling lies, speaking ill of people and gossiping and backbiting? Do you want to have the heart that is afraid to live with audacity and boldness, to be courageous, to be beautiful, and not in the normative understanding that is rooted in ugliness, that materialistic, capitalistic greed imposes upon us that says, here's the standard of beauty rooted in patriarchy and supremacy. But a beauty that's real, husn, man, inward and outward. That says every day that I am in this world and every tomorrow that I walk upon this earth, I'm going to live every day as best as I can in pursuit of a relationship with a creator that only wants the best from me. And what fasting is teaching us, amongst its many lessons, is how to cut out the distractions, to get rid of the unnecessary, to say and stand in the face of whatever it is that creates within us that anxiety and agitation. I don't really need it as much as I believe that I do. That you start with a space that says that, you know what? I don't have to eat as much as I do. I don't have to drink as much as I do. My consumption doesn't have to be at the level that I think it has to be at. And so too, I start to build and I say that I don't have to litter my language with vulgar, atrocious words. I don't have to be in a place where I put in my presence company and companions that are not hearts that are tender and gentle, but those that call me to atrocity and ugliness. I can cut off relationships. I can cut off things that are bringing me down. Because I want to feel real contentment, real rida. And I want to utilize the opportunity of a Ramadan to gain an increase in those parameters. Just one last time, if everybody can please move up, we can come close. There's still a lot of people who are coming in. If you're sitting on a tape line, that's just for where you stand. And if we can remember it for weeks going forward, don't sit just on the tape line, just move up. And so on this blessed day of Jummah, just sit down and think, who am I today? And how is the person that I am today no longer going to be afraid of the person I can be tomorrow? How will I sit and be honest and acknowledging not just where I have non-strengths, but also my own strengths? That I will pay attention to everything that I have been endowed with, to be able to understand that the world in and of itself is filled with a lot of distractions. But I have an aspiration to feel real bounty and feel real goodness. And the most important part within me, and that's my heart. And so my fast is not going to be about an empty stomach, but it's going to be about a full heart. And it's going to be in a place where I allow for myself to understand and traverse all of the spiritual stations that an action like fasting can only do, that a month like Ramadan can only bring. Think about how you will augment your days. How will you be in a place where it's not going to be sleep that's going to be the catalyst for your inability to gain? And when you make statements, make them in positive frames. So when you are talking to yourself right now, understand that it takes very little to be able to justify and validate inaction. So you will have every excuse as to why you should not do something that you know will be good for you. That exam, that meeting, that test, that travel that I have to take. These people, what will they think if I invite those people to this gathering that I'm hosting? Break down the thought and put it in a place that it has a positive frame, so that you can push yourself and compel yourself through the acquisition and motivation of something that renders goodness. How much Quran will you read in this Ramadan? Just in your own head, make a commitment. How many of your daily prayers are you going to not miss in this Ramadan? Attach affirmative value to it. What parts of your day will you spend volunteering to serve those in need? The money that you save from not spending on that cup of coffee or that food or whatever else it is that you have in daylight hours, what will you do with that in a way that's meaningful and productive? The hours that you have left between now and that first day, really just think, what are you going to do with them? To enhance, to elevate, to bring yourself to that place. Our Prophet ﷺ, he says of this blessed month, فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ وَغُلِقَتْ أَبْوَابُ النَّارِ وَسُفِدَتْ الشَّيَاطِينَ. That the gates of Jannah, they're open, man. They're waiting for you and I to walk through them. The gates of Jahannam, they're closed. May Allah protect us from those places. The shayateen, they're chained. It's just me taking on me. And I want to be able to just stand up to myself with an acknowledgement that it was given to me as a blessing for me to elevate and move forward in the best of ways. If you want to have practical places to start, I would say first and foremost, understand that the blessing of the month of Ramadan across the board categorically is not simply attached to the action of fasting. And so that there are many of us who are in this space because of medical conditions, both emotional and physical illnesses that we might have, pregnancy, nursing, we are elderly. It's just not something we are able to do for whatever reason. The month of Ramadan is still there for you. And you understand, if you have people like that in your life, whether you are conscious of it or not, don't allow for this experience to be one that is exclusive, but create opportunities for your sisters and brothers to be able to engage in whatever ways that they can. So if you can't fast, it doesn't mean that you still can't make the meal from which we break our fast. If you can't fast, it doesn't mean that you can't organize suhoor for us to eat a meal, because you know your fasting friends, a lot of them are going to sleep through suhoor anyway. It doesn't mean that you can't engage in a practice of i'tikaf. It doesn't mean that you can't seek solitude and seclusion the way our Prophet ﷺ did. It doesn't mean you can't read that Quran. It doesn't mean that there aren't things you can't access. Nor does it mean that if you are someone who is privileged and blessed to have the capacity to fast, that you can't facilitate those things for other people. Just do it. You want to utilize a part of the month to be able to build the relationship with the Quran. And many of us know in this room, not in a way to throw our back in the wall and defend ourselves, because it's coming not from that place, it's coming from a place of love. We just don't read that book and draw meaning from it and lessons from it. And it can be scary, it can be intimidating. A lot of it's just habitual. That our relationship with religion becomes about identity and not necessarily identity rooted in conviction. You can have pillars of practice and engage in ritual. You can even have tangential relationships with belief and conviction. But the distinction between the individual who has Islam and Iman, practice and faith, and the one who has ihsan, inward and outward recognition of beauty, the acquisition and the harnessing of it, understands that you can rotely memorize theology, you can pray the way somebody else prays. Your heart, man, is your heart. What you're gonna get on it is gonna be based off of what you put into it. And so that ability to have depth is going to come from recognizing that there's no book that memorizing it alone is going to be what's transformative of what's inside. But the barriers that cast themselves at walls that have to be torn down to allow for us to understand and acknowledge the existence of an akhirah in everything that we do. And even beyond that, more importantly, the creator of that akhirah. May Allah make us all people of Jannah. You gotta want it purposefully and consciously. And you have to set for yourself no standard other than that. And so you read that Quran, and then you take its message and its guidance and its lessons, and you seek to apply it to you because you're only in competition with you. And you start to move forward and you understand growth is gradual. Plan, if you can't, during the course of your week, how you will lose your weekends. That if the days are long and it's hard to be in a space where you can pray into the late parts of the nights on weeknights, then don't clog up your weekends with gatherings that are purely based on the acquisition of socializing. Or be the distraction that creates that for people. Because as much as I love each of you and would love to spend time with you, the nights of Ramadan were not about you and I talking to each other, but it's about me talking to my Creator and letting myself understand that that's a place that I'm entitled to stand in. So how are you going to use those weekends if the weekdays are heavy and hard? Don't miss the suhoor meal before Fajr. There is barakah and blessing in it. And that doesn't mean that you have a suhoor meal after you wake up. Or somebody said to me, if I didn't look outside and see the sun up, can I just eat? And I said, no, it doesn't work like that. Train your body to wake up. Even if it's a sip of water, our teacher, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, says to drink it. Pick a buddy that you're seated with and say, hey man, you need to wake me up so I don't miss that meal. You are blessed with a companion, a spouse in your life, then lean on them. There's no shame in it. If you haven't ever prayed with somebody like that before, let it be the first time you do it. But make a point to yourself and commit that you will not let yourself miss that suhoor meal. Even on a physical level, you don't want to turn a 17-hour fast into a 24-hour fast. And then you start building habits and they're going to be more problematic. And then where you can, in your iftar, be mindful and smart about what you're consuming after your stomach has not eaten anything all day. But pure substances into your body. Drink a lot of water and stay hydrated. Make sure you're sleeping times that make sense. You fill your body with greasy, oily food, then it's going to be greasy, oily food that's fueling you. But you put substances that are natural, substances that are pure, and you learn to control your stomach, simply not eating because you want to eat whatever you feel like eating, but eat because you know that there's a purpose to it and it's going to give you something through it. And then lastly, Spend time with good people in Ramadan. People who you know are gonna bring your hearts up. And allow for us to spend time with you. And I want you to think about this through the prism of a paradigm shift. Because a lot of who we are is shaped by the people that's around us. And many of us, may Allah protect us from it, have a very subtle arrogance, especially around Ramadan times, where we say, look at all the people who are coming in Ramadan and they don't come in the rest of the year. It's Ramadan, man, that's why they're coming. There's barakah in it. But you gotta understand that the presence of certain individuals creates opportunity for our increase in gain. And you might think that you're better because you stayed the entire year and they only came at a certain point in time. I'm saying shift the paradigm and understand that they coming at a certain time is likely what's making you better at that time than you want to really allow for yourself to understand. And when they're gone and the rest of the year still doing everything that they know that they're doing, we'll retreat back to where we are because we didn't do what we could to ensure that they would stay with people like us. So smile a little bit differently at the person who came that first time that wasn't there the rest of the year. Because you might not realize how their presence is increasing your growth. Let somebody stand in the row that they might not ever think they could stand in before. And just revisit every teaching that is not about anything other than good conduct, ethics, and morals. So you come to eat with us here, which you should, to break your fast. Let the elders eat first. Give your seats up to the women who are expecting. You know that there's going to be children running around, then be ready to engage them in moments that allow for them to feel happy and good. People that you're going to see at different events, already be ready to give them just small gifts and allow for them to feel positivity from you. Visit the sick. Go to the hospitals. Go to the pantries and the soup kitchens. Wake up your physical body by allowing for your spiritual heart to be as alive as possible through the engagement of all of these things. You go home on this blessed day of Jummah, open up a notebook and just write down 3 things you want to leave Ramadan with. In terms of your personal growth, your spiritual growth, your emotional growth, your physical growth. Write down the names of 3 people that you know can be your partners, your friends, your buddies in the acquisition of those goals. Write down a couple of places that you can go to and frequent that you know are just going to be good for your heart. Nothing else, just good for your heart. And then if you have the capacity, do the same, but in the opposite frame. The places you know you shouldn't be frequenting, write them down so your eyes bear witness. The people that you know are not going to bring you to good things, let yourself see it so that your entire being recognizes it. And the things that you want to let go of, the things that are going to pull you back, be honest with yourself and put pen to paper and let yourself see it. And say, I'm committing right here and right now to a self-recognition that says that this is not going to be who I will be when I leave from this month. It's just for you, your eyes, your being, and your heart to see. And just try it. It's all. You see that there's a distinction in how the month is something that gives you gain. It's your Ramadan, not anybody else's. You can't practice mine for me as much as I can't practice yours for you. And my prayer is that each one of us gains through this blessed month immensely to our full capacity and potential. But what we get out of it will be based off of what we put into it. And if you haven't started thinking about that yet, now is definitely the time to do so that we meet it as best as we can. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. So a few announcements before we make dua. The sadaqah from today is going to be going towards our Ramadan programming here. With our students back, we're anticipating some nights we're going to be feeding about 1,000 people, inshallah. We'll have iftar here, we'll have it at our engineering school in Brooklyn. We'll also be having it in our dental school. And all the information is up on our website. It's going to cost us about $5,500 a night. And our Ramadan programs, like everything we run here, is completely community driven and based. So the sadaqah from today will be going to that, as will for the next coming weeks. We also this Ramadan will be raising money to build a domestic violence shelter here in New York City, where the unfortunate reality in terms of consistencies and the work that I've been blessed to be a part of here over the last decade and a half, not a week has gone by without at least one, if not that many more women reaching out who have men in their life who have no idea what it means to be a man. And as much as we have been raising funds for people individually or directing them to resources, the capacity of our community is such that we have the ability, the means, and I believe, inshallah, the conviction and sincerity to get done the things that other people at times believe are not possible. So we are hoping to raise $700,000 this Ramadan for the acquisition and renovation of what will be a shelter for women who are survivors of abuse. And so make dua for its success, and do please be a part of that endeavor. The sadaqah from today will be going towards our Ramadan programs. The quicker we're able to reach our goals for what we need for Ramadan, the more we'll be able to then allocate towards these other endeavors that we have. For those of you who are students at this university or other universities as well, but especially this university, the university has a religious holiday policy, which means that you don't have to take exams, papers, etc. during the course of religious obligations. Nobody needs to miss Jummah prayer ever, and they'll make accommodations for you afterwards. As we are going into Ramadan, and there will be specific days and nights attached to our commemorating Ramadan, please let us know at the Islamic Center where and how we can be helpful to ensure that you do not have to pick and choose between the practice of your faith and the attending of a class. For other students from other universities, feel free to reach out and we're happy to help as well. For those of you who have jobs, I don't know what we can do for you, but I'm happy to write a note to your boss, which now to think about it, I've actually done for some people. And the awkwardness on the person receiving the email doesn't really know what to say, so it usually works out. Tomorrow, inshallah, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., we're going to be hosting through our Black Muslim Student Initiative, the first ever Black Muslim Symposium on this campus. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the building next door. Please do try your best to attend, not even just to support, but just to learn and understand. Even in the framework of preparing for Ramadan, many of us in this space are not aware of just how supremacy impacts our perspectives and where intra the community race dynamics are playing out to our detriment individually, whether we are people who self-identify as black or not. And ultimately, at the end of it, Shaitan was the first racist. His action of arrogance and not prostrating to Adam because he was of fire and Adam was of dirt was one that said, where I'm from makes me better than where you are from. And may Allah protect us from this type of arrogance. And so you want to go to be able to first and foremost understand that there are things you can actually learn. Not because you are trying to just be an ally, because that's not the intention. Go as a student to sit down with our teachers. People like Imam Talib Abdul Rashid, who has immense knowledge that can teach us a lot of things. Dr. Jamila Kareem, who is an amazing academic and depth of knowledge that can give all of us a lot of insight, as well as many others who will be there. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We are going to be having a monthly brunch for converts in our community tomorrow as well. It's for converts, people who are interested in Islam, and those who have family members who are converts. If you want more information on that, please let me know. This Sunday, inshallah, will be our annual Islamic Center picnic in Prospect Park. Please do come out for that. You can find more info on our website. There's going to be 2 brothers who are taking their shahada after our Jummah prayer. So once you pray your sunnah and nawafil, if you can stick around to be a part of that, we'd appreciate it. We have a few dua requests to make. Many people in the community have asked that we make specific dua for the people of Sri Lanka, where I'm sure all of you know of the atrocious acts of violence that have taken place there. Please keep them in your continued prayers that Allah makes things easy for them and ends the senseless violence that we see striking all different parts of the world in these days more frequently. We had a dua request from one of our alums, Iraj Junaid. Her younger cousin, Murtaza, passed away this week in Pakistan at the age of 20. There's an anonymous sister in our community who's a student who was recently diagnosed with severe mental health condition, and she's asked that we keep her in our du'as, that Allah gives her healing. Our brother Arafan Azad, he's asked that we make dua for his brother who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and brain cancer, as well as his father who recently had a kidney removed due to cancer. One of our sisters, Hera Muhammad, she's asked that we make dua for her husband Muhammad Rahan's baby nephew, or the nephew's name is Muhammad Rahan. She's asked that we make dua for him, that he's a toddler who is very ill and doctors are trying to figure out what is going on with him, as well as her mother Rukhsana Muhammad, who had a minor surgery a few days ago. Brother Osama Sarhan, he's asked that we make dua for the brother of his brother-in-law Abdullah, who lives in Egypt and passed away recently from a liver tumor. One of the sisters in our community, Saira Rafi, who moved to Bangladesh about a year ago, is very ill and bedridden, and we've been asked to keep her in our prayers. She moved to Dhaka to work with underprivileged children and is doing amazing work there, but is now very sick. Surya Bhatti, who's an alum of our class of 2016, her grandfather passed away in Ethiopia. And our brother Saad Al-Ansari, who's the father of Sara Ansari, one of the members of our community, he passed away in Iraq. And lastly, our sister Rumaisa Wadud, she's asked that we make dua for her mother and her maghfirah, Shagufta Nazneen, she passed away last week as well. Please make dua that Allah grants them all the healing that they seek. For those who have passed, that He grants them ease and entrance into Jannah without any judgment. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad في الأولين وفي الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah. We beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present herein and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all other hearts that are gathered here only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. Increase us, Ya Allah, in all that is good. And make us from amongst those who reach your blessed month of Ramadan. Write us from amongst those who benefit from its days and its nights. And through it, Ya Allah, give us a sound understanding of ourselves so that we might understand you better. Allow through that blessed month, Ya Allah, to make us those who connect deeply to your Quran. Enable us to hear its words be recited as they were meant to be recited. And let that recitation penetrate the hardest and darkest parts of our inside so that we might be illuminated and move forward as a source of light in this world that is desperately in need of it. Grant us a deep understanding of its meanings and give us a character that embodies its teachings. Help us, Ya Allah, through that blessed month of Ramadan to overcome any of our insecurities and anxieties. Through His barakah, Ya Allah, heal our hearts and help us in our own self-healing to then be the means of healing for those that are around us. Through it, Ya Allah, draw hearts together that have been pushed away. That for those of us who have fights and arguments with our loved ones and family members, friendships that we have walked away from, arguments and quarrels that have deep meaning or are totally baseless, through that month, Ya Rabb, bring us healing and help us to come together again. Help us, Ya Allah, through that month to recognize our potential to be catalysts of good and benefit in this world, and to go out and be the change that this world is in need of. Through the month, Ya Rabb, open for us door upon door of goodness, and every opportunity that comes our way to be a means of benefit, grant us the tawfiq to seize that opportunity and not let the sun set upon us on any day without us achieving that which we have the potential to achieve. Make us, Ya Allah, a means of benefit for your creation, and allow for us to draw closer to you through every moment of it. Ya Allah, for those who find themselves in pain and conflict in any part of this world, make things easy for them and help us to be the means through which that ease is delivered. Forgive us when we forget. Forgive us for our mistakes. And in these days leading up to that blessed month, help us to be as ready and prepared as possible. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وقم الصلاة.